Okay, this is part 4 of our ongoing series, Jesus versus Santa. And I think this might be the biggest video yet in the series because we're dealing with what I think is a very serious question. And that is this: if I tell my kids that Santa is real, am I lying to them? And even more seriously, if they eventually find out that Santa isn't literal, could this undermine their faith in Jesus? Might they start doubting him in the future? Look, these are super sincere questions, and I think they come from the hearts of parents who genuinely want to raise their kids in truth. And we have to honor that. So I want to try to answer this question well. In order to do that, I think we have to think very biblically, very practically, and even emotionally. Because the truth is, I think there is a huge difference between deception and the kind of imaginative storytelling that forms virtue, wonder, and joy in a child. So we have to remember something very important here as we get started. Kids live in a world where imagination and reality blend together. This helps them learn about life, right? When a child watches Toy Story, they're not being lied to, are they? Their imagination is being shaped. Their moral framework is being formed. When they read Narnia or watch the movies, right? Are they being tricked? When we display or portray Jesus as Aslan the lion, is that a lie? Is that a trick? No, I actually think it's inspiration. When our kids pretend their stuffed animals talk, do you panic and say, oh no, this is going to destroy their capacity for truth? No, because instinctively we understand that wonder is part of childhood development. But strangely, when it comes to Santa, we forget this. We treat imagination like deception. You know, Jesus actually often taught truth through stories, parables, symbols, images. They were fictional scenarios that revealed spiritual reality, right? Not because people were too dumb to understand the truth, but because Jesus knew that imagination unlocks part of the heart that a lot of times pure information simply cannot reach. So likewise, when parents share the Santa story, the goal is not to deceive their kids. The goal, I think, is actually to cultivate generosity, anticipation, gratitude, wonder, joy, imagination, and a sense of mystery. These are not ungodly traits. In fact, these are kingdom traits, traits that Jesus himself affirmed when he said, unless you come to me like little children. So if the intention is to bless, to delight, to shape character, to create memories, that's not deception, that's formation. So here's what almost always happens. A child grows older, right? They get wiser, and eventually they ask, hey, mom, dad, is Santa real? And parents have different responses to this, but usually it's something like, well, look, now you get to be part of the magic. And the child smiles and suddenly they understand. They don't lose trust, they gain responsibility. They join the tradition. They step across the threshold from receiver to giver, from believer to participant, from child to helper. This moment does not destroy trust, does it? It strengthens it. Kids don't look back at their childhood and say, wow, my parents lied about toys talking in Toy Story. Why did they let me watch that? They say that shaped me. That made childhood wonderful. I think Santa works the same way. Look, guys, our kids are not that. They're smarter than we give them credit for. They know Jesus is not Santa. They know this, right? They know that Santa brings gifts and puts them under a tree. Jesus brings salvation, eternity, forgiveness, guidance and truth, right? Santa comes once a year. He lives in them. He's with them at all times, right? Santa is fun. Jesus is foundational. Children don't confuse the categories unless parents confuse them. And when Jesus is clearly taught as Lord and Savior and King in your home, Santa's not going to compete. He's not going to overshadow. He's not going to replace. He will remain what he is, what he was meant to be, a fun, temporary tradition. I think we need to be honest about the whole matter. Kids don't walk away from Christianity because of Santa. They walk away because their Christianity feels rigid, fearful, joyless, condemning, unimaginative, harsh. There's a lot of parents that need to hear what I just said. Santa doesn't darken a child's heart, but joyless religion absolutely will. A child whose home is filled with laughter, generosity, imagination, and warmth is far more open to the gospel than a child raised in fear, suspicion, and restriction. Santa doesn't threaten faith, but fear-driven Christian homes, they will. Look, if your child's heart is being shaped towards generosity, kindness, wonder, joy, you're not harming them. If you're pointing them to Jesus as the true source of all goodness, you are building a foundation that will last. If your home is full of warmth, love, and grace, that is not deception, that's discipleship, because the Santa story is never meant to replace Jesus, but to create the emotional foundation that makes belief in a good and generous God feel natural to the heart of a child. So are we lying to our kids? Are we deceiving them in some grievous way? I think not. Actually, I think we're giving them wonder. We're giving them joy. We're giving them imagination. Hey, we're giving them a childhood. And when we do it with a heart centered on Christ, Santa doesn't weaken their faith. He actually helps to strengthen the soil where faith will one day grow.